So I've been talking about this shadow, and I feel like I need to refine what I'm trying to point at a little more because I'm finding that terms don't always get across. So let's talk about it like this. If I'm standing in the sun with my hands up in a certain way, my shadow will look a certain way. Literal shadow, I'm talking about now. And if we take this metaphor, that the way you stand, the way that you stand in the sun creates the shadow. In every moment, we decide to be a certain person in response to whatever is going on around us. And that is like standing a certain way in the sun. And so you cast a different shadow depending on who you decide to be in a moment, which is to say that we are not entirely who we decide to be in a moment because we have all of the other possible reactions that we could have to any moment are very much also a part of ourselves. But if I have a map of human interactions that says that certain interactions are this or that, then I'm going to interpret the shadow and I'm going to interpret who I am through the basis of these beliefs about what's happening. But the problem is that sometimes we can think that something is happening and that's not what's happening. So there's this point where, we have all these idealisms about how we should behave, what's good, what's bad, what's healthy, what's unhealthy, what's socially proper, or what's not. And these are all maps. These are all collections of ideas that create a way, a kind of a path that you should walk. And you shouldn't walk these other ways because this will make you selfish, or this will make you inconsiderate, or this will make you submissive, or this will make you dominant, or this will make you whatever. And in any moment, there's a way that we should be, and that's up to us to decide, obviously. But if someone else told us how we should be, and we believed them, and that's not healthy for us, but we continue to act from that map, and don't realize that we even have that belief, like it's been part of our system for so long that we don't even recognize it's there cognizantly, then that can be really frustrating. And that's what I'm coming up against, is that there's a lot of beliefs that I have that, I was raised and taught and are normal, but the context in which I experience them caused their lessons to be actually kind of debilitating and toxic. And so now it's a process of figuring out which one of those are just ideas that don't need to be followed the way that they are, and which of those are actually my drives. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about, for me, I am my shadow. You understand? I have found that I am so composed of other people's ideas that I am definitely not myself. And the truth is that any idea comes from an external source, and that's real. But if I am responding to a moment based on my ideas about what it is and not about how I feel, then I'm not acting honestly. And I'm trying to figure out, what do I actually believe that causes my behavior to be the way it is and then causes me to be so dissatisfied? What do I think that I have to do or should do that I don't have to do, that is actually harming me? How am I defining myself that is not beneficial to me, that I don't even realize I'm doing? An example might be the idea that, family puts family first. So like, no matter how I feel about it, I do whatever I have to do to make sure that the family is okay. Even if members of the family are putting their bullshit on me, I do whatever I have to do to like quell that and keep the family, not myself, but the family, okay. And I personally took that very much to heart and have applied that, and it's become like an integral part of who I am, is that I will absolutely sacrifice myself to the needs of other people, and that has actually proved to be very toxic for me. And when I talk about trying to understand the shadow. I'm talking about the parts of our shadow that we desire, but refuse to admit that we desire, refuse to allow ourselves to desire, refuse to allow myself to desire. Um, so yeah, when I talk about the projections and all these things, if my needs aren't being met because I feel obligated to the situation based on my definitions, and I don't do what I need to do to make the situation still be okay for me, then I just bury my own needs, and eventually those come out in resentment or in some kind of unwarranted aggression. It doesn't have to get to the point where I'm doing that, where I'm responding to other people that way. I could just, do what I need to do, what I know I need, and find a way to do that while still being compassionate to the people in the group I'm a part of. But, I can say this now, but for most of my life, it's felt like I didn't have a choice. Like, what I wanted didn't matter because what everyone else wanted was more important, because it seemed as though if what everyone else wanted was satisfied, I didn't catch any drama. I didn't catch any negativity. I didn't, I would be left alone. And that was the closest thing to being loved that I could ask for at the time. And if I tried to fill my needs, it was just, it was a frustration. So I decided at a young age that my needs didn't matter. That the needs of other people were more important. Keeping them happy was more important than what I wanted. And it was my job to figure out how to deal with my desires. Just deal with them, which means bury them, not express them, not gratify them. Just bury them. Just deal with them. Just pretend they're not there. Move forward. The next thing. Just ignore it. And that's really toxic. And so most of my personal desires, it seems, have become part of my shadow. And so that's why I'm so interested in pursuing these ideas of projection, because one, I want to make sure that I can fill my own needs, because it's miserable to feel like I have to rely on other people for that. And two, I recognize that when I don't fill my own needs, I become desperate. When I become desperate, I hurt people. I make decisions from totally ungrounded places that have no consideration for other people's feelings, because I am desperately trying to take care of my own, because I've ignored them for so long. It's like, you can bury something and make it a shadow, but it doesn't go away. Eventually, it will show itself. And I've buried my feelings damn near my entire life. I mean, obviously I've made all this progression to like get closer and closer to expressing them, and it's still a work in progress, but I still know that I'm damn near fully submerged still. And so there's a great deal of importance for me to see through the false map that I've created